The British Parliament finally vote for Brexit, most Remainers accept defeat, but Guy Verhofstadt is back again to cause more trouble. Right, happy Get Brexit Done Day, everyone. Today was the day when the UK Parliament finally got together and voted for the Brexit bill, for Boris Johnson's Brexit deal. Now, the process has now started for the UK to leave the EU by the end of January. That means 11 p.m. on the 31st of January, Friday, is the day when this country finally takes back control of its borders, of its laws and its money. And we're going to hopefully celebrate as a nation. And I know there's a lot of campaigns going on to ensure that there is some sort of national party organised by the government or someone. So let's see how that goes. In this video, we're going to talk about what happened today, but also the reaction we've seen from Remainers, which is quite interesting. Most Remainers have had the same reaction, apart from a couple who are not giving up. So make sure you watch to the end of the video, especially when it gets to Guy Verhofstadt, who's been lying again, as usual. Now, let's get this started. Now, before we start, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified when I release a new video. Now, this is what happened in Parliament today.
The ayes to the right, 358. The noes to the left, 234.
By my count.
Ayes to the right were 358. The noes to the left were 234. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Yes, MPs voted by 358 to 234 to back Boris's Brexit bill. Now, this bill is slightly different to what we were expecting because Boris Johnson wanted to make sure that no one can actually create any obstacles or be a troublemaker again during the whole process. And they call this a Gina Miller proof Brexit bill, because Gina Miller obviously, as expected, always plans to take the government and take Parliament to court to ensure that Brexit doesn't happen. Now, this bill is really well written and to ensure that Gina Miller can't actually use the Supreme Court as usual to stop Brexit. Now, the other thing that this bill does, apart from obviously stopping Gina Miller from taking us to the Supreme Court again, is that it guarantees that the 31st of January happens regardless of what Gina Miller wants to do, but also the transition period, which only lasts for until December 2020, cannot be extended, and it's basically now written in law. So this is quite interesting to see what these people are going to do. Now, we've had a reaction from Jeremy Corbyn in the chamber about this whole Brexit stuff. We've heard a lot from him over the last few years. Now, this is a very interesting comment he made, which absolutely make no sense.
Where there are so-called acceptable levels of rat hairs in paprika, maggots in orange juice, it's true. If members think this is a piece of imagination on my part, when I was first told this, I also thought that cannot be the case. I checked out, and it absolutely is. We are about to strike a new race to the bottom in a deal with the United States.
Now, the dude is absolutely delusional, and we all know that. But they've been going around using these examples of standards to basically say the same thing about human rights. They say the same about food standards and everything else, workers' rights. They say just because we are currently tied to all these very good regulations inside the European Union, that means if we leave, they're all going to go away and the government is not going to bring them back, and this is it, everyone's going to die. Well, firstly, most of these regulations, the UK actually helped to write them for the European Union, and the rest of it is actually just common sense. You can't, why would the government, any government, take away these certain rights or standards? You know what will happen. There will be chaos. Now, it's all nonsense. Don't believe what Jeremy Corbyn says. Luckily, the country doesn't actually believe what Corbyn says. That's why he lost. But now let's move on to the actual Remainers. Real Remainers, not Jeremy Corbyn, who doesn't know where he stands. You remember Anna Soubry and her political party, Change UK, the independent, whatever it was called. she finally gave up and has now dismantled her pro-Remain party. The Independent Group for Change UK, whatever it is, they tweeted saying, "We came together and took stand when others wouldn't. It was right to shine a spotlight on Britain's broken politics." Yeah, thanks to you. But having taken stock with no voice now in Parliament, we begin the process of winding up our party. Thanks to all who stood with us. I mean, did anyone stand with you? But okay. In a letter, Anna Soubry, who's apparently the party leader, said, "Dear member, as you know, the Management Council convened today and we unanimously agreed to begin the process of closing down the Independent Group for Change." I mean, unanimously, that just basically means she was in a room by herself and just decided to do it, because who else was there? As you know, more than anyone, we came together to form our party in response to the broken state of British politics. Last February, in order to do something about this, the Independent Group was formed. I mean, I find it very difficult to read this letter and not laugh or giggle. Did they make any change? The only reason that the British politics was actually broken was because of these people. Just refused to accept defeat in the 2016 EU referendum, refused to accept that there is a parliamentary procedure, the government is in charge, we have to get Brexit done. And they're like, why is British politics broken? Well, I wonder why, Anna. I wonder why. So this is what happened with Anna Soubry. She's gone, she's accepted defeat. Well, she basically just realised there's no way she can win. And it's not just her, we have more Remainers finally saying goodbye to us. Now, for anyone who has visited Westminster over the last few years, you must have bumped into Steve Bray, or the Stop Brexit guy. And so this, yeah, is an interesting character. We've had a lot of chats and debates together. Basically his job, he was getting paid to stand outside Parliament and shout at MPs and Brexiteers and basically just disturb the peace. And this guy was actually getting paid. He was given a flat in Westminster, a very kind of expensive flat to live there, and he spent all the last few years basically saying, I'm not really partisan, I just care about my country, so we should give our country back to the EU, that's why I care. So this guy has basically also realized that he's lost. Now, I don't really I can't give credit to him as much as I would to Anna Soubry, because she could have technically kept her party. This guy is not giving up. The money that was being given to him by whoever was the financial backer behind Steve Bray has stopped. He doesn't get paid anymore. That's why he's leaving. That's why he's giving up. So goodbye, Steve Bray. It was fun meeting you and talking to you and you shouting at me. Next is the Liberal Democrats. Now, obviously, the Lib Dems got destroyed in the recent election, and Jo Swinson, the party leader, not only her party lost, she actually lost her own seat, which is utterly embarrassing. Now the Liberal Democrats are getting together, obviously, to find a new leader, but also to change their policy. Now, they've realised that Remain is not going to happen, and Brexit's coming home. So they are now rethinking their strategy. They know that didn't work. I think they're going to be focusing on the actual domestic priorities of this country. They might wait and see. My prediction is they're going to wait for a few years, 2-3 years, to see how Brexit goes. And if it's some sort of disaster, then they're going to come back and say, we have a new campaign to rejoin the EU. So this is what's going to happen to the Liberal Democrats. Now, another Remainer who's saying goodbye to us is Michael Heseltine. Now, Lord Heseltine, who was the former Tory politician who was behind the project Get Rid of Margaret Thatcher in the 1990 saga of the Tory party. And he was a massive Remainer. He was very pro-John Major. I don't know why he was in the Tory party, because there was nothing conservative about him. Even fiscally speaking, he was a very, very wet Tory, pro-big government, pro-regulations, and almost, subsidising industries. So this guy has given up.
The reality is that Boris Johnson has got a thumping parliamentary majority, and there's no way that they will not get their legislation through in very short order. So we will leave the European Union. We have then got a period of uncertainty, but frankly, it's pie in the sky to Scott.
Now, not all Remainers are saying goodbye. There's one specific person. Well, we have Gina Miller. She hasn't given up yet. But there's another one, Guy Verhofstadt. who's not even British. Guy Verhofstadt from the European Union, who keeps interfering into our politics, is now going around tweeting lies as usual. He's just did another tweet about certain former Tory donors who want to get some EU citizenship. They want to apply, I think, for Cyprus. And he's tweeted this, and he's labelled them something that they're not. Guy Verhofstadt said, Conservative Party donors backing Brexit, but at the same time seeking EU citizenship via Cyprus. Pardon my French, but ordinary British citizens are being screwed over by their elite. Now you might think, oh, that's a very, very gusher tweet. There were some Tory donors who were Brexiteers, and now that Brexit's happening, so it's in their interest to keep their EU citizenship. But it's not true, is it? The actual article that's titled The Brits Who Won't Brexit talks about some certain donors who used to be the Tory party donors. Now, when you read the article carefully, you find out that they're talking about two certain individuals, Alan Howard and Jeremy Isaacs. Now, these guys, for example, one of them basically donated to the Tory party between 2005 and 2009. And a lot of money, but they were also part of, obviously, Jeremy Isaacs was the former head of Lehman Brothers for Europe. And these guys were actually pro-EU Remainers. They were never Brexiteers. They haven't been happy with the Tory party since 2016. They haven't actually been given any kind of money properly to the party. And so there's no wonder that these guys obviously want to move to Cyprus, of all places, by the way. So one, they're not Brexiteers. Two, they were former Tory donors. And three, yes, these are the elites that, you say they're on our side. Actually, they're on your side. So the elitist billionaires who have no respect for British democracy or ordinary British people, they're leaving the country. So I don't really care. Firstly, most of their business interests will stay in this country. They're not actually leaving that. They're not taking anything away. And so it's not really bad for our economy. We're not missing out. That's going to stay here. But if they want to play virtual signaling politics of, oh, I want to be an EU citizen, fine. Goodbye. I don't care. Now, on this channel, we're going to talk a lot about the next few months, the next couple of months of how Brexit will go and how Remainers will react, but especially the Labour leadership election. That's going to be really fun. So make sure that you subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified. I do videos every day at 5:45 p.m. UK time. So if you're watching from outside the UK, make sure you check the time zone. And if you want to follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram, you can find the details down here. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Photo Funhouse guys. Obviously, these guys, they're a group of Brexiteers who essentially make canvas prints. And they have political and non-political templates. It's quite cool, actually. And so there's a version outside number 10 with Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson, and you got the grumpy Remainers looking at them. But there's also the American version with Donald Trump, who's recently been impeached. But this is his inauguration with Bill Clinton staring at Ivanka. You got the grumpy Obama and George W in the corner. It's actually quite cool. They got all these different versions you could actually check out. I'll put the link in the description. It's actually really good for Christmas presents. If you haven't done your Christmas presents, you still got a couple of days actually to order this, and they'll send it just before Christmas. So make sure you check out the link in the description. Photo Funhouse on my Tousi, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.